All right. So first of all, I want to start by saying thank you to everybody that showed love on the first financially lit
Absolutely.
VIP with Dario podcast. A lot of people showed interest, and some didn't. But for those that did, we have more knowledge. You guys asked for more, and we're going to give you more. Today, we want to talk about what?
Syndication. Well, we're going to break it down in layman's terms because a lot of people, maybe they haven't heard of that word before, or maybe they haven't heard it in this, applied in this realm before. So syndication in terms of finance, right? Think about it like if we're going to syndicate something, we're going to come together collectively to do or acquire something.
Mm-hmm.
So traditionally, you have like real estate syndication, like a real estate investment trust. It's called a REIT. You have to be an accredited investor to do these kind of things traditionally, right? But it's like if me and you
and again, an accredited investor means you have to make $250,000 a year, or own $1 million in assets.
Absolutely.
If you're single.
If you're married, it's $350,000, right? But if you can prove one of those two things, then you get accredited investor status, right? And if you have accredited investor status, then you can participate in things like a REIT, like a real estate investment trust, which is something that you can do to syndicate real estate. And what that means is you and other people can now combine your wealth together so that you can acquire a piece of real estate in this trust. That's what a syndication is. Think of it like GoFundMe, kind of in principle, like with the GoFundMe account. Like, let's say you started a GoFundMe and you wanted to raise $10,000 for this cause, whatever it was, and you got a bunch of people to believe in that online,
right?
And they started, donating to the cause. Once the cause was hit, the $10,000 mark was made, then you would then acquire whatever it was, or put that money towards whatever goal you were trying to put it towards.
Right.
That's how that platform works. So think of syndication the same way in principle. So let's say that we, for example, wanted to get a piece of commercial real estate, like a multi-use, maybe 250 units of residential and 5-6 business units on bottom of commercial multi-use. Right. To get a piece of real estate like that, let's say it costs $10 million, right, to get something that big.
Right.
Well, what we want to do is to acquire that, you need to at least have a 20% LTV. That's a 20% down payment.
An LTV means what?
Loan to value.
Gotcha.
So a 20% loan to value is the minimum that you got to do to get rid of PMI, private mortgage insurance, on the loan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best thing that you're going to want to do when you're going to get a loan like that. So a $10 million loan, you're going to want to put 20% down. In order to get the 20%, do I have that on my own? I don't. No. And then most people I know don't have that on their own. So in order for us to acquire this, we're going to syndicate that down payment together. So the 20% of the $10 million, that's the goal. So now what we would do,
and this is 20%. Who's making it that the 20%? Why is that a requirement?
So it's actually not a requirement. It's just a smart thing to do.
Gotcha.
So for the smartest thing to do for the co-vestors involved in this syndication,
mm-hmm.
Would be to get rid of private mortgage insurance. So because if you put less than 20% down payment, that means you have less than an 80%.
So this is another strategy again to save money.
Absolutely, yeah,
gotcha.
100%. It's just kind of built in to that.
Right.
But let me take a step back, because I started by talking about accredited investors and real estate investment trusts and those REITs. That's all in the commercial jurisdiction, and that's all something that, again, you got to be an accredited investor to do. But that principle, the principle of syndication, right? How that works.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Think about how the GoFundMe works. Those principles. Now bring that over to the ecclesiastical trust that we have, the IVA account. So now anybody, you don't have to be an accredited investor. That
mm-hmm.
barrier to entry is not high anymore. Now me, you, anybody that wants to be financially literate, anybody that resonates with this message, who wants to own multi-use real estate that has that many units, that could cash flow at that level,
right?
They can now participate. All they have to do is co-vest in an IVA account to open the IVA account. Now that they have an IVA account, you're able to squish that money together in a syndication to get that 20% down payment,
right?
And then move on it. We strike. We acquire that loan and that real estate. Now that we have that, everybody that squished their money together in the first place,
mm-hmm.
equal percentage. Like if I put up 10% towards the goal, then
get 10% back.
I now own 10% of that acquisition. So my royalty reward is going to be 10% remitted monthly of the cash flow of that asset every single month for the lifetime that these co-vestors own that asset.
So the bigger return that you want, the bigger co-investment that you have to put.
Correct. The
in.
bigger royalty reward that you're going to receive
Right.
is based on directly equal to the amount of co-investment that you put up.
Mm.
Yeah, there are no returns, there are no investments, because those are in the commercial jurisdiction. Right. That's for like the REITs.
I almost said it.
Right.
I was like,
yeah, that's why.
Stop myself.
Right. I just it's another teaching point.
Right.
But so over here in this ecclesiastical trust, we have royalty rewards remitted to our co-investors. So this is the major difference, because we're using real money over here. We're not using currency.
Right.
And this fiat taxable stuff, we're not using that. We are using real money, gold and silver. In this case, American Silver Eagle coins in the IVA account. So when you're using real money, it's outside the jurisdiction of the IRS. Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. So you don't have to pay. And I'm not a licensed tax advisor, right? I'm not giving you tax advice. You have to go do your own research. But what I'm telling you is that when you do your acquisitions this way, it's on a toll-free road.
So if I have, an IVA account, I own silver, right?
Correct.
Or I don't own it.
You're the beneficiary of the silver in your account.
I'm the beneficiary of the silver. But if I want to go get a car and someone's willing to trade with me in silver, I can trade my silver for that car on a toll-free road, which means no taxes for me.
100%. Yes. And any business currently, especially in the state of Arizona, that recognizes the Constitution as law of the land, any business that transacts in gold or silver, being real money, does not have to pay taxes on that transaction. It's outside the jurisdiction of the IRS.
And this is written in the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, Article 1, Section 10 doesn't specifically read that, but over the time and the precedent, it's been interpreted these ways, and this is how the law functions today. I mean, Article 1, Section 10 defines what real money is. And
you have any doubts, go look it up.
Yeah, it's very simple, right? And our ecclesiastical trust is Section 26508C1A of the tax code. It's mandatorily accepted from the tax code. So this is not, we're not claiming to be like sovereign citizens, for example. Like if you look up what a sovereign citizen is, the FBI actually declared those domestic terrorists for whatever reason. I'm not really sure the logic behind that, but what we have ecclesiastical trust. It's in the tax code, you can look it up, 508C1A. And in addition to that, we use real money, which is outside the jurisdiction of the IRS. And at the same time, with this IVA account, you're able to leverage it. When we leverage it to acquire a piece of real estate in the syndication example, right? We're all squishing our money together. It's different than like a regular bank account. Like if you had, for example, $10,000 in your commercial bank account and you wanted to put $10,000 or let's say $9,000, right, towards something. You would take the $9,000 out of your account and you would have $1,000 left in the account, and then you would go get the something, right? That's how it normally works. Well, with an IVA account, it's not like that. You're leveraging the account, which is technically, it's the same word for loan.
Right.
And you're able to leverage up to 90% LTV in the account.
Of your own
money. So like in the $10,000 example, if you had 10,000, value in the silver position in your IVA, you could leverage it up to the 90%, that's 9,000. And what you do by doing that, you're creating a note out of thin air. And you did not deplete the principal position of the account. So that means you still have 10,000 in the account in a silver position. But now you have this $9,000 note that came out of thin air, and you're able to put that towards the syndication that you squished together with these other people that did the same thing. So now you just created this loan, this note out of thin air that to yourself. Could you
essentially say that you've created like your own bank?
You are
your own banking system.
The IVA account is acting like its own central bank in all practical reasons, and the methodology of how that operates. That's what the IVA is. I mean, you're taking the power of your wealth into your own hands, and you're leveraging it. So when you leverage the account, right, to go acquire something, and I don't deplete the principal position. So I still had the 10,000. I have this $9,000 note. I squished it together with other people, and I got an asset now. Well, now I'm paying myself back because it's a note, right? Let's say you want to pay yourself back over 18 months, maybe even, 24 months. And let's say you want to pay yourself back like 5% interest, whatever it is, you run the math and then it'll give you a payment over that time. So let's say your payment is $100 a month, whatever it is, so that you can borrow your own money without depleting the principal position.
Right.
So you're going to pay yourself back plus interest, which is a good thing to do because you're paying yourself, right? It's making sure your account's growing.
Right.
But at the same time, because it's a loan, because it's a leverage, it's 100% tax deductible.
Right.
People don't really understand that, and it's an extra win because now that you leverage this, come tax time, whatever that leverage was is 100% tax deductible.
Right.
The same way, like if you had a HELOC on your house, that loan money is 100% tax deductible.
So you're able to pay back the loan to yourself,
the leverage,
and make money off the interest, off of yourself, and on top of that, it is tax deductible.
100%.
So explain that part, because I don't think a lot of people understand what tax deductible is. I mean, they've been doing their taxes for years, but I really don't think they understand what that means.
Right. And I think that the reason why most people don't understand the tax code, before I even explain it, is just because it was written for business owners, right? Like yourself. Employees don't really have. Yeah.
Thank you, Chaos.
Love it.
Producer.
Yeah. Employees don't really have the same taxable advantages that business owners have. The tax code is written for business owners. So when you're able to write things off more when you have a business. But that being said, when you leverage something, any type of loan money is 100% tax deductible. So you have the $9,000 leverage, the loan that you've been paying back all year.
Right.
Think of it like in the normal scenario, you'd be paying that back to a bank plus interest. And because that's loan money that you're paying back to a bank plus interest, you can deduct that from your taxes 100%.
The entire $9,000?
100% of it. And instead of paying the bank back plus interest, why don't you pay yourself back plus interest and still be able to deduct it 100% from your taxes?
So just to break it down a little bit more, if I end up at the end of 2019, when I do my taxes, I have a $9,000 liability that I owe back to the IRS. Basically, I use those $9,000 to use as a tax deductible on my taxes, and then I owe zero.
Correct. You submit to them that you have this $9,000 leverage that you've been, paying over the course of this year, right? I mean, you have proof of it, and that's tax deductible. I mean, it's 100% tax deductible. The same way you would submit to your CPA or your tax guy your receipts or your income credits or your education credits or any of these other things that are tax deductible from your taxes. You would give them the paperwork for the leverage that you did or the loan that you did, and they would understand that that's tax deductible status.
And again, just to clarify, we are not tax experts. If you have any questions, ask your bookkeepers, your accountants, your tax people. They will give you exactly the right answer for your particular situation.
Right. We're just trying to spread financial literacy in general so that you guys understand that these are the way that things function, so you can do your own research, so that you can self-direct your wealth in the proper ways, co-vest in an IVA account.
And again, that's what we're really doing this. I mean, we're just trying to pass on some information to you so that you can go and look it up and do your own research, which actually some people did. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They looked into what we were talking about, and they ended up finding all kinds of other stuff and then posting it on their own social media and then talking about it and just really showing some interest. So this is really what it is, inspire you to go and actually, get motivated to learn more on your own. That's really how you're going to get the answers.
Absolutely. Yeah. You gotta, it's a paradigm shift. It really is. The old way of thinking versus this new way of not only looking at the world, but, approaching how you live. Essentially, it's a whole paradigm shift for your finances, because everybody has been taught traditionally to be employees. You went to school to learn how to be a good employee, to get a good job. Maybe if you're old enough to get a pension, but most of us to get a 401k, to retire. And is that the best method? I mean, not to become financially free. It's not. Not to free yourself and create generational wealth or leave a legacy. That's not. You need to own a business or own assets that cash flow. That's what the wealthy elite do of the world. I mean, that's just how it works. And the tax code is written to benefit business owners. So in order for you to change your paradigm and actually free yourself financially, you need to acquire assets that cash flow for you so that you have a reoccurring revenue coming in on a monthly basis that frees you. So now your bills are covered and you can go enjoy life the way you want to enjoy it, whatever makes you tick, however you want to, steward that wealth properly. But it starts with you changing your paradigm, to understand that you need to acquire an asset that cash flows for you. But like we've been saying, the barrier to entry to do that is so high. You either have to be an accredited investor, or you need to start your own business, or you don't have the wealth to go, buy a fixer upper business, or maybe you don't have the knowledge to do that. It's not like that anymore, man. Now we can all syndicate together, and all you have to do is have an IVA account to participate. Now you can own a piece of an asset that cash flows, and then it's rinse, lather, repeat. Your real estate portfolio just grew by that much. Now you have some cash flow, run it back. Use that and put it back into the system to acquire more and more and more real estate. And eventually you're going to have a portfolio with the rest of our syndicators who are all doing it together, and you're going to free yourself financially. And then you can focus on what you want to do.
And it's important to, like, going back a little bit, like, we've been programmed since we were kids to just go to school, go to high school, graduate, go to college, get a good job, work for somebody, and just make other people rich.
1,000,000%.
And it doesn't have to be like that. You can work for yourself, run your own business, and this is a way to do it.
Yeah, because most people, they understand these concepts, but they don't have the knowledge, the time, the inclination, the leadership, or the experience, or the fear of failure, to go and be in business for themselves. So what we're doing is we're trying to show you that you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We literally have experts in our community of syndicators and co-investors, industry experts that understand real estate, understand finance. They understand global finance. They understand jurisdictional trusts in the sovereign and commercial realm.
Right.
They really understand this stuff very, very thoroughly, and they've won using this model already. They already know how to acquire these things and cash flow, and they have a proven record of success. So if you're gonna do something or learn how to throw your money into a syndication, or participate in growing your knowledge base so that you can free yourself, I would do it with people who have already won, people who know how to do it, that have proven track records, and just, you have to take that first step. So you brought up a good point, brother. With the silver. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, someone was like, "Well, I'm just gonna buy my own actual silver," and I'm like, "Look, man, that's not how it works. You got to be careful with that."
Right.
And why is that? We touched upon that topic on the last podcast.
Right. And it breaks down to gold confiscation, man. And the executive order is still in the books. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, first president who signed that executive order into action. And it was used twice, right? Nixon used it in the early 70s when he took us off the gold standard. And essentially what it is, don't get it wrong, it's still in the books right now. And don't think Trump might not use it if we're going to go back to a gold standard. It's how the nation funded the treasury when all our gold was getting put overseas. They took it from the American citizens because under Article 14, or it's the 14th Amendment, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It's you have an adhesion contract for benefit of being a U.S. private citizen, and in doing that, for the benefit of all these things that the government gives you, you are required by law to turn over any gold or silver that you physically own whenever our president of the United States at the time deems it necessary for the safety of the nation, so that we can protect the dollar against the speculators and make sure that the U.S. has a strong economy. So right now, what's happening to the economy, right? It's getting decimated. And the Federal Reserve notes, right, the fiat cash in your wallet is 98% devalued at this point, and just keeps getting printed into infinity.
And they keep printing money, so it's going to keep going down.
Keeps devaluing, right? So what they're doing is they're prepping for a switch. It's either going to be a switch to a cryptocurrency, or it's going to be a switch back to gold. And, it's a war on cash, right? And it looked like, cryptocurrency might have gained some traction until Donald Trump took over the Federal Reserve by executive order. He's now like the Fed chairman, and he tells them what to do, and they do it. He's print more money, and they print it regardless of what he says. He's a wartime president, right? And we are in a state of emergency. He's using his emergency powers as we speak. So it's not very far-fetched to think the executive order to turn the gold in would not come right after that.
And the reason the IVA account is beneficial is, again, because you are the beneficiary, and you don't own it, but you control it. So that means that when they do come to confiscate your silver, they can't take your silver because you don't own any.
100%. So yeah, the way that works is it's trust. It's the way the trusts work, and trusts have been around for a long time. And the wealthy, the elite, they understand trusts because it's very important that you control everything that you can, but you don't own anything. They don't own anything.
Right.
And it's to protect them from liability, really. That's what the wealthy do. So that you can do that for yourself, what you need to do is you need to be the beneficiary to the value of the wealth, be the beneficiary to the silver, be the beneficiary to the gold, that you can use it. It's fungible for you to do when you're in this beneficiary position, but the trust technically owns it. And that's very key, because when this executive order gets used for the third time, and American citizens have to, by law, federal law, or else if you get caught not doing this, you're going to go to federal prison and they're going to take your asset from you and you're not going to get anything for it. If you don't want that to happen to you, then when this happens, you must go to your local treasury window and in your state and sell that asset to the federal government
at their price,
fair market value, at whatever fair market value is for that day. So whatever it's trading at. So let's say gold's $1,500 an ounce. That's what they're going to give it to you at. If silver's $20 an ounce, that's what they're going to give it to you at.
Right.
However, the last time they did this, and we all know history has a tendency to repeat itself, right?
Right.
The last time that the government did this, when Nixon did it, after he confiscated everybody's gold in America, 3 days after all the gold was confiscated, they revalued what gold was worth.
Literally 3 days afterwards.
They revalued what gold was worth. And instead of, in that case, gold was like $25 an ounce when they confiscated it from the American people, when they bought it at fair market value, confiscated it. And 3 days later, they revalued it to be $10 more in value than it was, from $25 an ounce to $35 an ounce. That's a big percent increase when you do the math, from 25 to 35.
Especially in the matter of 3 days.
Right. And now they have all of it. And in addition to that, they made it federally illegal for American citizens to own gold or silver, these real money assets. So you are not allowed to participate in the upside potential of the revaluation of these metals. You are not allowed to participate if the federal government goes back to a gold standard and they take America's gold and silver to underpin the economy and put it in the treasury and then revalue what it's worth. Let's say I'm not going to say let's say. The experts have studied this extensively. And they agree that if, in order for us to go to a gold standard, gold would need to be $10,000 an ounce. Silver would need to be $500 to $1,000 an ounce. So would the market do that naturally? Probably not. But if the federal government mandates that that's what it's worth, that's now what it's worth. And we have the biggest military in the world, and there's really not anything anybody can do about it. And at the same time, we are the world reserve currency. So where we go, the world goes economically.
Right.
If we go back to a gold standard, it's going to affect the world majorly. But President Trump has, love him or hate him, he is posturing to put us back to a gold standard. He's not advocating for crypto. He's advocating for gold and silver. So as we get postured to position to switch back to this gold standard and scrap this fiat system, the only way for American citizens to participate in that upside potential is if you're the beneficiary of the wealth, but you don't own it. You have to put it in trust. So this IVA account is very, very key for this, because you can co-vest your wealth into this real money position that's a trust, instead of, housing a monster box of silver that's 500 ounces, 500 coins under your bed, or even worse, in your bank at your safety deposit box in your bank. I'm not sure if people understand that, but that contract that you signed to put that there, you just gave your asset to the bank. They technically own it, and when you want it, they have to give you it. They don't actually have to give it to you. They allow you to get it.
Give you permission.
They give you that. Thank you. They give you permission to take your asset back.
Right.
But it's in the contract that you signed that you gave them ownership of it when you do that. So I would never put your precious metals in a bank safety deposit box. 1, 2, definitely do not hold that under your bed or in your safe at home, because let's just say you're a badass, right? Let's say you got a lot of guns, you know how to fight, you know how to protect yourself, you got a lot of friends, right? Let's say you have a house and you got bunkered down compound, right? You're a survivalist, right? And you're like, they're not going to take my guns, they're not going to take my gold, they're not going to take my silver. All right, man, more power to you. But what's going to happen once you have this silver and you're like, I'm going to participate in this upside potential? Well, let's play that out a little bit. After they feel they have everybody's gold and silver, right? They feel that they've confiscated everything. They're going to revalue it. Now, let's say you're still holding it. Let's say you're still holding silver, then you got it at $20 an ounce, and now it's $1,000 an ounce. And Federal Reserve notes aren't worth anything. We scrapped that system, so you're running out of money quick. And the only thing that you could have sold it to the government, but now that opportunity's passed. So now you're holding on to this federally illegal metal that it's worse than being a local drug dealer. If you sell drugs locally, you get local crimes, but this is a federal crime. So now you're going to go to federal prison and they're going to take your asset from you. If you try to shoot it out with them, I mean, it's a military, bro. Like, you're not going to beat the military. It doesn't matter how many friends you have.
Right.
So think about it. Be smart. Do what the wealthy do. Put your asset in a place that is jurisdictionally protected by sovereign ecclesiastical trust law. Put it there. Leverage it. Be the beneficiary of it. Syndicate the wealth together with other people so that you can acquire a piece of real estate that cash flows for you, so that you can have an asset, so that you don't have to be an employee anymore. You can actually have reoccurring revenue with real assets in the real world that will set you free. And you can take a page out of these wealthy people's books so that you can be a proper steward of this wealth on these toll-free roads. Create generational wealth for your family. You know?
Right. So, tough question. I think you might have just answered it. What is it about the trust that protects the silver? So, for instance, the government can come and take, silver and gold, confiscate it for me and you. What is it about the trust itself, or how it's built or structured, that protects everybody's silver in there?
Right.
Gold?
So it's actually a trust. It's over 600 years old. It's recognized by the United Nations as a sovereign ecclesiastical trust. It's its own sovereign state, essentially. And there's really only like 3 of those that exist in the world. And I'm not going to name them. You can do your research, figure those out. But this is a very solid structure recognized by the United Nations. It has a UN security clearance stamp on it. It's a legal, lawful trust. And we have private treaties with certain organizations that allow us to do what we do. The trust, the actual vault where the silver is held is in an undisclosed, protected location. It's not in the United States borders. It's technically its own sovereign state. So you have to understand the law, the commercial law versus, ecclesiastical trust law. You have to understand where ceded jurisdictions are, and you have to understand how they operate, because if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. I mean, It's pretty simple. You have to have literacy on these topics to be able to move effectively and function properly so that you can maximize your cash flow potential. If you're not worried about maximizing your cash flow potential, if you're not trying to become financially literate or free yourself or create generational wealth, then this isn't for you, know? But if you want to do any of those things and become financially free, syndicating wealth together is the fastest way to do it. But you haven't been able to do it before because you're not an accredited investor. The wealthy keep getting wealthier and the poor keep getting poorer, and that wealth gap keeps increasing because you can't play. You can't put your money there and grow it that way traditionally. But now you can. Now anybody can. We're going back to a gold standard, bro. And he's going to tear that system down and make America great again. But what does that mean for you? I mean, you'll become a financial casualty in that process of switching back to a gold standard if you don't protect yourself. Your fiat currency is already devalued 96 to 98%. You know that you can't own gold and silver going forward. The only way you can participate in that upside potential is to stop saving your money in a commercial savings account that's fiat. Stop doing that. That's not smart. Save your money in an IVA account that's this ecclesiastical trust position, real money that's silver or gold that will appreciate, that you can be the beneficiary of that, which you can then leverage to acquire assets that cash flow for you, which then is 100% tax deductible. Like, it makes so much sense. There's so many reasons you win over here, that there's so many reasons you lose over there. And again, you just have to learn about it.
And going back, this is what the wealthy, this is what the elite are doing. They've been doing it for years, and they're going to continue to do it.
Yeah.
And
hand over fist.
If we don't jump into it, man, we're just going to
get left behind.
We're going to get poorer and poorer and poorer.
Financial casualties.
I don't want to be poor.
Me either.
I'm tired of being poor, man.
Same.
So
Yeah.
Cool stuff, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So anybody that resonates with this message, right? If you want to own a piece of an asset, you want to syndicate with us, DM him, DM me, right? Financially Lit Pod. This is a VIP section with Dario.
Right, and then you're holding the CPOs every Tuesday.
Yeah,
at
Tuesday
7:30.
nights at 7:30. So
yeah,
tonight.
we have a bunch. Today is Tuesday, so we have a bunch of people signed up. And it's just a Zoom call. So if you guys want to jump on that, again, it's no pressure. Just shoot me an email if you guys want. If you are interested, great. If you're not interested,
great.
It's great. I mean, you're gonna miss out. But
we're not looking for people to drag, just people that run with us.
Yeah. So shoot me a message, and I'll get you some information, and I'll get you that link, and you'll know within the first 5 to 10 minutes if this is something for you. If it's not, just click out, and you're good. You'll never hear from us again, and that's that, man.
Very simple.
Cool.
Right?
Anything else?
That'll be it for today, brother. Cool. I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. So again, you guys asked us if there's anything that you guys want to know more about, or a specific topic that we talked about so we can go more in depth, let us know. But continue to share the link, subscribe. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.